Public,
Apparently, the public has been disrupted.
not apparently.
Have to keep you in check.
Yeah. Careful with that.
Are we all done now?
That is good.
Who's that one? Okay, where are we with the agenda?
Thank you.
Oh, the last one is the vehicle disposal. If you recall, the last time we were talking about vehicle disposal, what I didn't realize was that actually it was two different discussions. One of them had to do with the fact that we had already approved some vehicles to be sold by the town. And also at the same time, we're talking about the fact of whether or not the town would allow the department to use vehicles as trade-ins. And then Mike was very quick, and he got back to the town and found out that the town was indeed in the process of trying to sell some vehicles, and he got that information back to us. So then the question became, what is it that we want to do? So they basically stopped what they were doing, and those vehicles are still there and they're ready to be.
And there is some added, the initial bidder retracted their bid.
That's correct.
So the question came from Town Administrator Schenkel whether you wanted to proceed with the second highest bid, because that bidder had inquired of the town whether they had disposed of the vehicles yet, and if not, they were still interested.
So I put it on the agenda to see if it is still the wishes of the commission to go forward with that vote that was previously taken
What vote?
to sell the vehicles. And now it's the second bidders.
And that money goes into the general fund.
Correct.
Right. The only thing I argued for the other day, Monday, I'm always arguing for something. I always argue my point. That's my problem, I think, sometimes. But I argued the point that why didn't that money, those revenues come back to the police department, because it was reflective of the police, but that's not the way it works. It works that it's returned to the general fund. However, there's nothing to say that I can't use it in my argument. Is that right?
Absolutely right. And the fact is too, the vehicles are titled to the town, they are not titled to the department. So I think that confounds things further.
Right,
So
right.
Do we know what the next highest bid or the second?
I don't know if that material is in what I sent you. I do not know it off the top of my head.
Both of the, I don't have the packet with me, but the second bid was in there. The summary on the bids was
Right.
included.
Right, Christine was very thorough in terms of what she
Right.
Well, can
gave
we,
back to
can
me.
we put these back out for rebid since the first bidder, the highest bid?
If it pleases the commission, I don't
know
see
that we're
why it would.
obligated to take the second highest bidder.
Well, that's why the question came from the town administrator, what do you want to do now that has happened? Do you want to, go with the second bidder, or what do you want to do?
And how is that advertised, man?
They, Christine, and I believe she included that as well, she had posted it. I think that would be a prudent step, is to rebid that, because some of those bids were assembled, kind of piecemeal as we went along, so I think reopening that process would certainly not be harmful.
Do you,
Do we have, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, Council, do you know, I mean, the money for the vehicle purchase comes from our budget, but the residual value doesn't stay in our budget. I'm just having a hard time
No,
My
understanding
understanding is the
that.
money comes from the general fund or from the town and goes to your budget in order to purchase the vehicles. So therefore, when the vehicles are disposed of, the process flows backward and goes back to the general fund. Again, that's my very rudimentary.
That's just
understanding.
like the other one I argued for was the dog licensing.
Right.
I mean, I'm not without trying to find ways, six
That's-
ways
yeah.
to Sunday,
And
but
it's it makes sense what you're asking, and if I were sitting in your seat, I would be asking the same exact thing. 'Cause
Mhm.
it's like, well, wait a minute, we're responsible for this, but then when it comes time to recognize any potential revenue, we're deprived of that. And I understand
And
your
it was the
position.
point of discussion, this last time when we went through the budget process, that there was nothing in the animal control line. And I said, how can you do that when you collect money from the town side, you know, for dog licensing? Why wouldn't you put something in that line if is it a law or something like that that you have to do that?
And I know Administrator Schenkel was diligently taking notes yesterday.
Why-
and-
Oh, that's good.
Why is it if, I understand the whole process and I know why it goes into the general fund and
Mhm.
I agree with that, to be honest with you. But my question is why is it the responsibility, if they're titled out to the town, why is it the responsibility of the police department to get involved in that process as opposed to saying, we're done with these cars, here's the town of Hooksett, you can use them for whatever you want. You wanna put them in the highway department, put them in the highway. You wanna put them in any other town department, go ahead, or if you wanna sell them, go ahead, that's up to you
And
guys.
I think that's in essence what has occurred, because the commission has reflected in the minutes that Christine forwarded, that the action was decided to dispose of the vehicles. Christine was notified via memo on 4 separate occasions that we now have another vehicle ready for disposal.
Right.
And the town then aggregated the 4 cars, received bids on 3 out of the 4, if my memory serves me correctly, and then accepted the bids based on that. So in essence, that's exactly what has occurred, that the police commission and department have decided that the vehicles are no longer to be used, and it's up to the town to dispose of them.
So why is it that the town administrator or the town would be asking us, do we want to accept the second highest bid when we have nothing to do with it?
I think given the fluidity of the situation with the interim administrator at the time, there were a number of moving parts. I think Dean or Administrator Schenkel in terms of being able to openly and effectively communicate is looking to make sure that's still the wishes. Because obviously there are many moving parts.
Still wishes that we want to dispose of them.
Correct.
I don't think there's any question that we want to dispose.
Okay.
Okay,
So-
I can bring that back, or if.
It doesn't need a motion because it
Acting
was
chief-
already voted upon, it's just if
To
it
dispose
changed.
of, yeah.
Okay.
Nothing's changed.
At the, you have a department head meeting tomorrow?
Yeah, I told Christine
I-
today or yesterday that I would let her know tomorrow what the wishes were. so we
Okay,
can
so
get
if you
going.
wanna pass that along, and again, I've given you my cell phone number, if you have any issues, call me.
I
Okay.
see no reason not to still continue to dispose of it, give it back to the town, and they can do what they want.
Okay.
And I think that makes perfect sense. I mean, that way if the town wants to reopen the bid because so much time has gone by,
Okay.
that's fine,
Yeah.
but they're out of your hair and
Right.
they're taken
And
care
if they
of.
want to use them, they can keep them and use them if they want, I mean, whatever they see fit.
I think one of the things that was missing in the timeline that she provided was there was a decision to dispose of a certain number of vehicles, but subsequent to that, with the most recent vehicle, there was discussion about giving vehicles to other departments in the town if they wanted to use them.
Okay,
Or use them as trade-ins, that was
Or
my,
use them as trades,
that
that's
was-
where that part comes into it.
that's
So
why I
kind
say
of
I
missing
think
in the
those two
timeline.
things got intermingled.
I think what happened was the very first, from reading the minutes and the memos, the discussion was made to take certain cars out of service as they reached certain mileage thresholds. Then the memos were presented to Christine in subsequent fashion. They weren't all given to her simultaneously.
Right, when they were available.
So what I think happened
When
was
we
that
put
there
them on
was,
service.
there was kind of a lag, and it kind of leapfrogged, and it looked like exactly what you just described. I think that's accurate.
Well, there were several months between one and the most recent, and I think there was conversation after the one, and I know they had to be decommissioned, let's say,
Right.
so there was a lag there too,
Yeah.
but.
It was also a way of seeing if we could get what was paid for out of the police department budget
Right.
and get some of that back by using them as trade-ins. Now, that'd be another question, you know, if and when we purchase them vehicles, whether or not whoever it is we do business with would take them as trade-ins. We don't even know that.
And I think too, what the other aspect of this now is with the new DPW director, the new administrator, there's no interims, there's no, you know what I mean? There's a concerted effort to basically take on some of these functions that have been discussed in these commission meetings, and I think there's an appetite for that. And
Right.
how we address it and move forward is
Right.
gonna be
Right.
beneficial to all.